What's your most embarrassing putting two and two together moment? When I was a little kid, my mom would bet me that I couldn't eat my carrots without them making a snap noise. I was determined to prove her wrong. Carefully biting in until snap. Damn it. Let's try again on the next one. Careful. Careful. Snap, damn it. I think I was about 16 before I realized she doesn't care in the slightest about the bet. She just wanted me to eat my dang veggies. That's actually pretty clever. In the top 3 most embarrassing is when someone causally mentioned that Diagon Alley in Harry Potter was just diagonally. I died a little that day. And then there is Nocturnally. When I was 16, I worked weekends at a drugstore. One morning right after the store opened, some guy comes in, shops around the store for a little while and leaves without buying anything. Except when he gets to the door he trips on our rug and falls flat on his face. I immediately stuck my head over the counter to make sure he was okay. When he yelled, "Those aren't mine," and runs out, I look down on the ground and there are 2 badly dented 20 ounces beers on the ground. My initial thought was, oh my god, he tripped on those beers? Who put those on the ground by the exit? Took me about an hour to realize what he was actually up to. I grew up pretty sheltered and never swore. In high school I heard someone say mofo once and thought that sounded cool. So I went around calling my friends and even a teacher mofo for a few days before someone finally told me it was short for mother. To be fair, some teachers really are moffus. I got an electric toothbrush for my birthday. I also was traveling with family at the time. I happened to lose my toothbrush and looked everywhere for it. I was about to search through my dad's bags when I hit a side pocket and something started buzzing. Immediately I wanted to search it and my dad flatly denied it, even slapping my hand away. We had an awkward moment where we didn't make eye contact. I was so mad, but let it drop. Later that day I was cleaning out a box from the car when lo and behold I found my toothbrush. Cold realization washed over me. If it was an electric shaver, dad would have taken it out and shown me. 9 times out of 10 it's an electric razor, but every once in a while. At a grade school field trip to a local nature trail, we were treated to a scavenger hunt. We divided into teams and drew our list from a hat. My team was to search for 10 objects that were evidence that people have been in the park. All of the lists were similar. We were picking up trash, Coke bottle, burger wrapper, condom. Pimps. I thought they were just colorfully dressed black men. The African American equivalent of the 90s swing dancing, zoot suit riot craze. Keep your pimp hand strong meant you literally needed a strong hand for slapping that upright bass. Upright bass is a weird name for a H. For way too long, I wondered why we never heard about all the other units' codenames, like from A0 to Z9. Why only the K9 uni? These are my favorite ones, when you don't realize how stupid you are until you hear yourself say it out loud. I realized that pitch black meant that something was as dark as pitch, and I have helped my neighbor's shingle roof several times before. Meet shingles in your area tonight. One day while driving my mother around town, it randomly dawned on me what my parents were really doing when they locked themselves in their bedroom and told me that they were going to talk about my birthday Christmas presents. My parents would take naps in the afternoon, on weekends, and lock their bedroom door. They would also get really pissed if you bothered them during that time. It took me a long time to figure out what was really going on. Not me, but my husband. One evening we were out bowling with friends, and I took my purse to the bathroom with me. My husband was saying, "Why are you taking your purse to the bathroom? Don't you trust our friends?" while all of our female friends are giving him that look. After a while it dawns on him why I might be taking my purse to the bathroom, and he says, "Oh, that's why mom always got mad when I asked her that question when I was a kid. We were married, y'all. Definitely old enough to know better." That's not too terrible. The worst is when male teachers ask female students why they're bringing their bags to the bathroom. No, I'm not going to do drugs. My vagina decided to bleed down my leg all of a sudden. They always seem to ask at an inappropriately loud level too. Weed. When I was a really little kid, I saw my dad and his friend rolling their own cigarettes. It wasn't until college that I smelled what was apparently pretty good weed and said, "Hey, that smells like my dad's cigarettes." Huh. Before someone overextends this idea, A lot of people really do roll their own cigarettes. I overheard a coworker talking about her pet duck and I was fascinated. I asked her questions about her duck, like what it ate, and I expressed fascination that she took it on walks. She looked at me strangely when I asked more questions and expressed more enthusiasm for all the things her duck did. She had one amazing duck. It even did tricks. I always brought up her duck in conversations. One day about 6 months later, she brought her pet dog to work. At the beginning I was pretty sure the duck was a reference to genitals. Well, I came to the wrong conclusion, but it was the time I thought all of my friends' parents had AIDS. When I was 8 years old I asked my mom how babies are made. She gave me a clear, honest answer. From having sex. A few months later we began taking care of a family friend who was dying from AIDS. I asked my mom how someone gets AIDS, to which my mom responded, from having sex. So I put the two together and went to school the next day and burst into tears, telling all of my friends that our parents were going to die of AIDS because we were all made from sex and sex gives you AIDS. When we had our first sex ed classes, nobody bothered to explain what sex really was, except that it was bad and you'd get AIDS if you did it, unless you wore a condom, but they didn't explain what that was either. For the longest time I just thought sex was this evil thing that caused babies, AIDS, and death, and I swore never to do it. Go to love the American education system. I thought my roommate in college had a live-in girlfriend that I never saw. There were always women's clothes strewn all over his room, pink flip-flops and high heels at the door, and lots of feminine hair and skincare products. One day, we're sitting on the couch playing video games when I asked him, "Hey, why is it that I never see your girlfriend around?" He looked at me and said, "I don't have a girlfriend. I've been single for since I got here." Oh, whose high heels are those in hallway? He gave me one of those looks like he couldn't quite comprehend and then it suddenly dawned on him. "Dude, we've been living together for a year and a half and you haven't figured out I'm trans?" In hindsight, it was rather obvious. In your defense, it was pretty odd that in a year and a half you hadn't seen them wearing using any of that stuff. Embarrassingly enough, it took me a long time to get the K Jewelers every kiss begins with K pun. I legit remember saying out loud, "Oh my god, the letter K, duh. You just made me realize this." The Christmas only comes once a year joke from the end of the world is not enough. I only got about a month ago. I am 23 and have watched that movie dozens of times. It was like a pin dropping. I suddenly went, oh I get it. Oh dear. God man, she was the worst actress in any Bond movie. Yes, she was hot, but Jesus. Her lines sounded like a 5-year-old who was just learning to read trying to work their way through a script. English is not my mother tongue, but I have been speaking it fluently for about 15 years now. Some weeks ago, out of the blue, I had the sudden realization that the word movie is just a short form for moving pictures. Mind equals blown. When the ones with sound came out, people called them talkies because you could actually hear the people talking. I was about 23/24. I'd been smoking out with friends the previous evening and wanted to clean out my pipe. There were cruddy bits of resin and gunk. If only I had something good to clean this with. Some kind of long, stiff yet flexible wire with a cleaning surface. Wouldn't it be great to have a pipe cleaning tool? A pipe cleaner. I had never put it together that pipe cleaners were meant to clean pipes. I'd only ever used them to make crafts at school and summer camp. There's a pretty big difference between craft pipe cleaners and the real thing, to be fair. In my drama class, we listened to a few songs from a musical at a time and then analyze them. The first one we listened to was Hair. My teacher would bleep out swear words by making this loud screaming whooping sound and I never understood why. One day, we were discussing, and I ended up saying OHH. Do you make that noise to cover up the swear words? And my teacher looked at me and asked what I thought he was doing. I just thought you were really excited about musicals. The entire class started slow clapping for my stupidity. When my history teacher was showing films to the class via a projector, high school, he made something like one of those Japanese ladles you use to pour water on graves. He called it the shadokacha, and he would use it to cover the projector during explicit scenes. Not me, but my father didn't understand what Cruella de Vil meant until he saw it on a license plate one day while driving me to school. I worked in a lighting warehouse over the last few summers. We refer to 12,000 watt lights as 12Ks. I'm like, okay, K equals 1000. It took me until my second summer working there, 18 years old, to realize that K wasn't just shorthand for 1000. It's short for kilo, as in 12 kilowatts. God bless America. When I attended the West End show The Lion King, I genuinely expected there to be giraffes, lions, hyenas and other such animals on stage. My crestfallen disappointment swiftly turned to embarrassment, as I had already loudly raised certain logistical queries around this with other members of our party and people sat there in the theater. What happens if the hyenas get overexcited and just attack Timon and Pumbaa? I sat very quietly for the duration of the show. I was 27. I'm reading this pretending you're a naive rich person. The first symbol in the Disney logo is just a fancy D. When I was a kid I thought it was some crazy design. Never challenged the idea until much later. I thought it was a bloody G well into my teens. April of last year, 2015. Me. Happy anniversary mom and dad. How many years is it, mom? 22. Me. Wait, so you got married in April of 1993? Mom. Yes. Me. I was born in August of 1993. Mom. Yes. Mom. So technically I was there. Mom. Yes. Me. Laughs. Anything else you want to share? Mom. I was married once before your father for 4 months. Me. What? Last year at age 42 I realized that Staples sold all the staples you need for your business, and that they didn't just pick a random office supply. I figured it might as well have been named staplers or paper clips. When I was growing up we did a lot of chores around the house, including gathering up everyone's laundry. My dad always used a cloth hanky and has his entire adult life. Gross, I know, and always keeps one in his back pocket. Every so often, my mom would pull out their bed and have us collect all the hankies my dad had stuffed behind the headboard. Literally 20-30 of them all gunked up. My child brain thought dad had night allergies and was hocking weird lodges into them. My adult brain realized they were his CM rags because they used the pull-out method. It was the 70s and birth control wasn't nearly as advanced as it is now. One day when I was a kid, I realized that the word vitamins was a portmanteau for vital minerals. It was embarrassing because it totally is not. You're close though. Vitamins comes from vital amino acids, although not all vitamins are amino acids, they are all vital. I saw a sign brick on the outside of my school that said Anno Domini and a year. Saw another Anno Domini brick on a friend's church. I loudly proclaimed that the architects for both were the same person. Weeks later it occurred to me the dates were over 100 years apart. I wish I had not been telling people all about that guy Anno Domini for the weeks until I figured it out. Anno Domini means year of our Lord, so the date built. My mum used to say things like we have to rush because your dad is an old fuddy-duddy and likes getting places half an hour early. About 2 weeks ago I booked a table for 730 and told the missus it was 7, so we were only 5 minutes late. Penny dropped. My mom's friends would invite her to dinner and would always tell her to show up an hour to 90 minutes before so she'd actually be on time. Oh yes, come for dinner. We are eating at said 5:30. Come at 5:30. The donut holes are from the center part of a round donut. I always assumed it was a donut hole and it didn't occur to me until last year. Breakfast is called that because it's when you break your fast. I was 28. Edit. It makes me happy to know how many people learned this from Game of Thrones. Huh. Only recently found out that pickles were cucumbers originally. I just thought they were another kind of vegetable and that when you pickled something you were putting it in pickle juice. Growing up my cousin's grandmother had a female friend she lived with. It was kind of an open secret that she was her lesbian girlfriend and nobody cared. I am now 29 and was recently talking to my cousin about it. My mother, who spent a lot of time with these two women, said wait, they were lesbians. Still not clear how this is something a bunch of 12-year-olds figured out, but my mom couldn't. I grew up very poor and way out in the country. One night while visiting some friends for dinner we got lost and ended up being late. Friend's wife goes to fix me a plate for dinner and she put it in the microwave. It was at this point I realized she has put some corn on my plate. I ran as fast as I could across the dining area and told her to make it stop. She did and asked what was the matter. I then let her know that I didn't want the thing turning my corn into popcorn. I only recently realized that Iceland was called that because they sold mostly frozen food. I don't think that's true, but I don't know enough about Iceland to disagree. We can see the moon because the sun is shining light on its surface. Just hit me like a ton of bricks when I was about 20 or so. Don't know what I thought before that. Some teacher failed at their job. When people said they lived out in the sticks, I thought the sticks was a real place, like the Cotswolds or the Midlands. 28 before that particular penny dropped during a conversation with a client. That someone I knew in my family was a closet pot smoker. Literally, the person I knew for years had smoked pot in their closet and always covered it up. I put 2 and 2 together when I started to smoke. I remember the first time I smelt weed and realized that's what my uncle's house smells like. I always knew it smelt weird but never smelt that scent before. Back in high school I knew these 2 identical twins. I was sitting with them at lunch either first or second day of GR9, and at one point I noticed they looked alike. I said something along the lines of "you guys look alike," and one of them was like, "You are twins." I even remember during the assembly earlier that day I sat beside one of them, and I saw her sister sitting somewhere further down and I was confused. If it makes you feel better, there were twins in the grade above me at school, and it took me a few years to figure out that they were 2 people, because one of them dyed her hair and the other one didn't. I did not realize that the Underground Railway was not a complex subterranean rail system until I finished the book and realized that the little slave girl and her friend never got in a minecart or anything of the like. I was on a travel assignment years ago where another co-worker and I sometimes flew to a regional airport together. One flight, the flight attendant made some incomprehensible announcement on the PA just before people started deplaning. My ears were a wreck from the flight, so I had no idea what she said. As I got off, she glared at me and said, sarcastically, "Nice." A few months later, my co-worker and I are talking about something or other, and he mentions the time some kid barfed all over the airplane aisle. I guess I stepped in at that time. We did an art project in grade school. I think I was probably in 3rd or 4th grade, where you would draw a word you thought described you and add other elements to it. You could use the dictionary thesaurus to pick a word. I wanted to do something about being smart sensible, but I didn't think either of those were pretty enough words. So I picked the word sensual. My teacher even tried to dissuade me, but I refused to listen. The worst part is I picked it from the dictionary but didn't look at the definition. I didn't think about it again until I saw all of the words displayed a few years later when I was in 6th grade. At that point I wanted to die inside. That was neither smart nor sensible. There's a Korean-Japanese restaurant on my campus called Koja Grill. I'm a junior and someone just pointed out to me that Koja is short for Korean and Japanese. I was a big fan of Winnie the Pooh growing up. At one point, I realized that kangaroo were called that because they were kangaroos. That point was when I was 17. Before I tell this, I should say I am not religious, but my family still celebrates Christmas. When I was a teenager and I was making Christmas cookies with my mom and my best friend, we had been listening to Christmas music all day. The song Little Drummer Boy came on and I said out loud, "Who is Pirimpa-Pumpum? Why does he need gifts?" I was not raised in the church and so I had thought Pirimpa-Pumpum was some old Hebrew name or something. Think Nebuchadnezzar. My mom and friend both looked at me like I was the biggest idiot on the planet. It was at that moment that I realized it was an onomatopoeia and not some person's name. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.